Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Michelle Fanninsteel. I'm the CEO here at Dirigo Food Safety, and we are doing our Facebook office hours this morning on the sanitary transport rule. So if you've noticed over these videos, what I've been doing is I have been creating product and GMPs as they come into your plant. Okay, and so we did specifications and supplier approval and traceability and all that good sort of stuff so that you know what's coming in. And now we actually have to get it there, okay? And we get it there through sanitary transport. So clearly, if you are a farmer and your transport is from field to your packing house, this doesn't quite apply to you, but it probably applies to you afterwards. So when you think about sanitary transport, there are different ways that food moves, okay? But from a really broad perspective, food moves in trucks to your facility, and that moves in trucks out of your facility. And for small folks, this new sanitary transport rule underneath the FSMA regulation is really confusing. Okay, but I want to talk about two different things. So there's sanitary transport under the FSMA regulation, okay, of which covers an awful lot of things. It covers things that you wouldn't expect it to cover. I probably get a couple of calls a month about sanitary transport for meat and poultry. And if you read the rule, like, very narrowly, if you are transporting meat and poultry, because it has to be refrigerated, it has to be temperature controlled most of the time, it needs a sanitary transport plan, and so it is actually FDA regulated when it's sitting in a truck. Okay, so even if you figure out that there is some way around your sanitary transport conformance to the actual regulation, as your company moves to a GFSI type system, like an ISO regulated system, that sort of thing, you're going to have to prove that your ingredients were not harmed in transport. And that's really what sanitary transport is. It also has ramifications in food defense. When we were piloting food defense back in the early aughts in VetCom in the Northeast District, because there was, and that's where we piloted it, and for echelons above reality made that decision. But we looked a lot at trucking and transportation and that sort of things. And the way we check trucks and transportation in military operations is robust, as you might imagine. And I don't think I'm giving away any state secrets there. But that sort of food defense has a weak point in trucking and transportation. And no matter what kind of food production you are doing, you have to make sure that your food is not adulterated or otherwise harmed during transportation. And that's what a sanitary transport plan does. Okay, and so the basic tenets of a sanitary transport plan are you check the truck, make sure it's clean, make sure it's the appropriate temperature, whether that's hot or cold or whatever, room temperature, and make sure you know who's driving, where the truck is going. You don't really have to go so far as to put mirrors under the truck looking for IEDs, but that's the idea is that you know where the food has been, who it has been with, what temperature it was kept at, and whether or not the truck was clean. Like, really, it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, especially if you're doing shelf-stable transportation. So under the sanitary transport rule, if you're doing shelf-stable transportation, you don't have to have any sort of sanitary transport plan. If you are doing transportation where the product is packaged in a box that has holes in it, and so the most common thing people think about is a tomato box. So those waxed cardboard boxes, they have holes in them. Tomatoes are a ready-to-eat food, and therefore transporting tomatoes needs a sanitary transport plan. For meat and poultry, for dairy, for that sort of stuff, if you have a ready-to-eat product that is exposed, you need a sanitary transport plan. If you have a product that is cold, you need a sanitary transport plan. Okay, these sanitary transport plans, frankly, are not that rigorous. They are probably things that you're kind of doing anyway. like everything else, I find that most folks are doing the actions of food safety, and what we have to do is bring in the documentation. That's it. Okay, and so what that means is recording whether or not the transportation is clean, when it was cleaned, and then what temperature it is. Now, for those of you who are covered facilities, who are doing wholesale transport in your truck, or in the back of your car in a cooler, you can do sanitary transport in that. It's just that the container is the cooler, okay? So you have to clean the cooler, and you have to make sure the cooler temperature is maintained. So we do that by data loggers. This is, I mean, like, these are low-tech solutions, I promise. Okay, and again, like most of what I say, you miss more by not looking than by not knowing. If you are looking at your product and your primary product containment has holes in it and it's a ready-to-eat food, sanitary transport plan. Cold, sanitary transport plan. No matter what size you are transporting in, it can be a little Coleman cooler, and if you're transporting a ready-to-eat cold thing, you have to figure out how to keep that thing cold. You probably want to anyway, so now you're just going to record it. Really, that's everything you need to know about a sanitary transport plan. There's no reason to make it more complicated than it is, and there's every reason to just, write us and get the sanitary transport plan and institute the logging. And I swear, is the truck clean? What time did it get cleaned? Is the temperature maintained? And have you done the most basic of food defense checking around the truck? Really, that's it. So, as always, I'm happy to answer questions, or if you want a sanitary transport plan, send us a message and we will get the template out to you. We love working with small businesses, and we find this stuff so important, we're just giving it away. So, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. You've been a delight.